Hello everyone, welcome to the Azure DevOps Bootcamp. I'm really sorry I kept you waiting for a couple of minutes. That was a little bit technical glitch from my end. So this is Lakshit Pant from Azure Developer Community, and this is the day 4 of Azure DevOps Bootcamp. And so far we have discussed multiple things about Azure DevOps. First about the basics of Azure DevOps, then about Azure repos, then about how GitHub Actions and Azure repos can benefit you, then about a little bit about on the YAML side and about the encryption side we have discussed already. Today we will discuss more about how effectively you can use serverless functions or precisely Azure functions to automate the DevOps environment, because automation is the crucial part of every developer journey, and we tend to automate everything so that the process, the pipeline could be much more smoother, the experience for everyone could be much more smoother. And for the same, we have our expert speaker Jayakumar sir here with us. He'll be talking about how to use serverless and Azure functions, and how you can just build automation. And he's a Microsoft MVP alumni from Microsoft Office 365 development, a Microsoft trainer, and definitely he has been doing a really incredible work in the field of community. So not wasting much more time, I'll quickly pass on the stage to Jayakumar sir. Over to you, sir. Let's start this.
Yeah, thank you, Lakshit. Thanks for this wonderful intro, and thanks for the Azure developer community as well. So for giving me this opportunity. So let me start sharing my screen.
Sure, sir.
Hope you're able to see my screen now. Is it visible?
Not yet, sir. Not yet, sir. It's not visible yet.
Okay. Sorry, just missed the shot and the screen. Now it should be
Yeah,
visible.
it's there. Yeah, it's there, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Just missed the pop up. Uh, Thank you, everyone. So, hope we are in the day 4 of that Azure DevOps Bootcamp. So, hope you might have covered some of the basic things and some of the key things about DevOps, like managing the source code, how to use the pipelines, and what is the DevOps on its code. So now we will see uh, the next parts of the next chapters of those things, and little bit of automation with the help of Azure functions, serverless functions. So before that, Lakshit already given my intro, so I would like to add on to that. So I'm Jayakumar. I work at Kongsberg Digital as a senior developer engineer. I'm Azure and certified professional, Microsoft alumni, and here are my contacts. If you had any queries, please feel free to reach out. Let's get into the plan for today. So we will look at what is DevOps work items. So you might have already seen what is the how to manage the source code, and how to you automate the source code and deploy the things using pipelines with the YAML. So work items is something that you can do, use it for project management. And what is PAC token? That means personal access token. So what it does and how we can use that, because we are going to automate here something, right? So to automate, you need some kind of authentication or permission to do that. For that, we'll be using the tokens and the service hooks. So service hooks is nothing but establishing a handshake between two components. Okay, so now we are going to automate DevOps by using functions. So to connect as a bridge between those things, we need one platform, that's service hook, and we'll be discussing as serverless functions and the key vault as well, and how we are going to integrate all these things. So today I have prepared a lot of demo and real time, so to showcase you how these things works. As it's a boot camp, I covered it from the base, like from the creating the project and a step by step of things. So I will not bore you much with the contents and the slide just by going to the slides. So we'll directly get into the demo, and I will showcase you the real things with which covers all this agenda that we have now. Okay, first let's get into the work item. So what is work items? Uh, I will open up my DevOps portal. Okay, this is one of my DevOps portal. This is my DevOps portal. So yeah, where I have created one project called Hackathon project. So where I can able to manage my source codes that you guys have already seen, which will be under files or repos. You might have seen in the previous day on the bootcamps. And the pipelines you can see here, it is for the automation which you see yesterday as in the third day of the bootcamp. Now let's get into the work items. So work items is something which helps you to manage the your task. Let's say that you're working in a project, and it is combined of multiple modules. Let's say and it contains of different tasks. Let's say you want to create a web page, you want to add a button, you want to save something. So everything is a separate task, right? So if you consider this it as a big project, then it is better to manage it in a specific structure. So that's why we have work items. It's just to track who is working on which one, like what is the status of that. Let's say this user Vedika, uh, for example, I taken work item and split the task, same like the example that we are working now. Let's say this is a work item update. This is the root level. That's epic. I have a big model, and under that, I have two features. Let me maximize this. I have two features. Implement the business logic to update the Azure function. Use the Azure function to update the work items. So register the service hook as Azure function in DevOps. So these are the two things that I need to take care to complete this demo. So I created as a two different tasks. I have just segregated it. Now, within this, implement business logic app. Within this, I I have three user stories. If you look at here, business logic to update work items, I need to create the token, I need to update the Azure function configurations. So I had three different things to do. And within this, I'm splitting it up again. Update Azure Functions. If I go get into this, you can see update DevOps org name and update the keyword reference. See, these are the two different tasks. If you see, I have it's split it up into different tree level of structure. So kind of epic, feature, story, and tasks. So all these called work items in a clubbed way. And this every work item will have their own user who it is assigned to. That means who is responsible for and what is the status of that. And every task will have the own efforts, like what is the time that will take to update the to do this particular work or task. Let's say I want to update the org name. What is the effort? Maybe it will take 1 hour or maybe half an hour or 2 hour, whatever we can mention here. And you can, and once you start working on that, since it is closed, this is log. Now I become it active. Let's say that the estimated effort is 2 hours, and you started working on that. And at the end of the day, or once you complete, you can just update what is the remaining hours and what is the hours completed. So you can do like this for all the tasks. So it will be easy to calculate what is your efforts, how many hours you have spent on your project to complete a specific task or for the entire project. So these all things, if you can have many things, you can do the planning and all those stuff. There is a parent-child relationship. If you see this is a task, the user story is the parent. It's in the bottom. So these are all about work items. Our demo is also our today's learning is also going to be dependent on this work item. How we are going to automate these work items with the help of Azure Functions. Okay, now coming back to our agenda, let's see what is personal access token. As I said earlier, I have my function over here, Azure function, and I have my task over here. And as I said earlier, to connect this Azure function and this task, we will be using service hooks, right? Okay, that is a bridge between the service hook. So how I can allow some of other service, Azure is a separate service, DevOps is a separate service. Even though it both belongs to Azure, both are different systems. How I can authenticate my Azure function to update something or to automate something in my DevOps. So that's where we need some kind of authentication. And for now, there are many different types of authentication that we can follow for this. The real quick way that we can use personal access tokens, where you can define your permission levels, what this token can do, what this token cannot do. Okay, now coming to personal access token, where you can create it. Once you come into your project, right next to your username, you can see this icon, user settings. I think I can use it. This is the user setting icon, and once you click on that, you see personal access tokens here. Click on that. It will load all your existing tokens. You can use the new token as well. So I'm just going to use the new token button. So now if I have my projects created, all accessible, or whether I want to give this to one in my training organization, or I want any all organizations, I can use the common token or not, that we can decide. Give some friendly name. Azure developer community demo. I have already given that. So demo. Okay, this is just a friendly name. And what is the expiration? As it's a token, once anyone have this token, they can use it to do some of the updates, right, to your system, to your existing DevOps. So you can control it at a certain level, what permission that token can have, and when till when it can be valid. If you want this deactivate it after some time, you can use this opportunity to change the expiration. And if you want to give the full access, you go with this, or if you want to do only some specific actions, you can use this custom define, and here you have the controls. So whether this token have the permission to update or manage the work items or not, that you can decide here. Now we are going to update our token, update our work item with the help of Azure Function. So I will not only need read, I would need read and write as well. Then only I can update the item and implement some automation. Now the code part. So I'm not going to touch any code with this token because our focus is today this for this demo is only on the work item. So I will leave it is. So that means by using this token, I cannot do any activity on source code which is in the day two. And this is about the build part, whether the pipelines and whether the build updates or release update, I can do anything or not. That permission goes here, which is in the yesterday. I can do anything on the pipeline or on the build. I don't want anything because this token is not meant for that. I just leave it, and the rest of the thing, testing and packaging, everything. Let's save it, and there are many scopes as well. Okay, sorry, I missed it. Let's leave it custom defined, read and write. There are many other scopes as well. If you see, there are a lot of different scopes that you can define, so that this you can use this token for many different purposes. So let's create this token. Yeah, we will get a new token, but we will not be able to see this token after this. So better to copy this, or else we need to regenerate the new token, and then we need to back up this. So I'll just copy this token for now. Yeah, I'm showing this in a demo, so this will be available on YouTube as well. So for the security purpose, I need to delete this once the demo is completed. Yeah, that's the reason I said we need to set the expiration, the proper permission. So let's say I'm sharing this screen now, and it's been recorded as well. You are seeing in the live stream the YouTube. So I'm showing the tokens here now. Anyone can use this token to access my DevOps and do something, right? So it's, even though it's my personal, so personal accounts for only the have the demo things, but still it is not secure, right? So you need to set those expirations and what permissions that you can do. Everything will help you to manage that. Okay. Now we have seen what is personal access token. Coming to service hooks. So this, now we have the permission or authorization to access our system from Azure function. Now what is that bridge? How to create that bridge? Let's check that out. Once you go to your project, and you'll be having a project setting, and in the project setting you have the option called service hooks over here. Click on that. So basically the service hooks, whenever something happen, it will try to send that information to your Azure function. So let's say that you are doing some activity in your work item, and you want that to be trigger something to the external system, then it can do that. That's what the service hook is all about. I will show you what are the options that we have in service hook. Let me try to open the existing service hook so that it will be easy to show. So what you can create a new service hook by clicking on this, and once you do that, you can choose the Azure App Service and you go with the next. Okay, App Center, function. Yeah, you can use this option. What kind of service you are going to create? Now I'm going to open the existing one. So we are going to use the webhooks concept. The service hooks you can manage a different thing, like you can connect with Azure App Service directly or Azure Service Bus storage, or there are a lot of options that you can do the integration. I'm going to use the webhook, which is a normal one. So this webhook is called something webhook in general. It just triggers something and send the information from one system to another system to do some action in the second system. When something happen in the first system or first application, you want to trigger something and send some information to the second application, and whether you want to save that information there or you want to do any kind of action in your second application, you can use the data. That's what this webhooks does. So I just click this, and it is an automated thing. You have these many things. As I said, trigger, that is event. Trigger means something needs to happen, whether you need to update your work item, or you need to commit your code, or your pipeline should run, or your build should complete. Anything can be happen. It's up to you to decide what kind of automation that you're going to do. So I'm going to choose, these are the things that you can use. We are Our focus today is sorry, on the work item updated. So let me go to the work item update event. So whenever something happen, I will we need to trigger something. Now there are different filters when what kind of work items needs to be triggered. For this, I will better open the existing one. Yeah, work item updated, area path, work item. This is all just filtered because we will be having many work items. If you want to apply this service hook or this kind of automation only to specific work items, you can use these filters. And also you have many fields here. State is there, effort is there, estimation is there, description, area path, integration, many things are there. You want to rise every act, every change is a kind of an event. It can trigger something, right? I want to look at only the state. State means status of the task, whether it's new, active, or closed. So we are going to select only the field state. If you want to monitor any of the fields also, you can choose it here, but we are going to leave with the state. Next, it is a post call because it will send some information to your HTTP service. Our function will act as a HTTP service, and your HTTP URL, basically your function URL, you can mention it over here. And then if you have any authentications, all those things you can mention. Once you're done, you can click on this to test and check with the some demo triggers. And once you click finish, it is done. Okay, now we have configured this. We know what is service hook and what are the different actions available in service hook, what are the different triggers available in service hook. We have seen now. Okay, what is the problem that we are going to solve here? Let me show you what problem it is. As I said, so this is the DevOps, and let me go to the top one now. So this is my Epic. I Let's say this is my new task, my new project we are starting. Let's say new project we are starting, and I'm just going to change everything as new. Yeah, I have updated all these work items. Okay. Now this epic is new. I have two features. I'm just going to change this as new again. I don't know why it's not. This one, this is my feature. I'm going to change this also as new. I think my existing service is still running. So let me disable this. That's why I'm. If I look at the yeah, it's keep on running. So my actually our automation is working. So that's why the changes status are keep on changing. Let me disable this for now till I show you the demo. Okay, I just disabled it. Let me refresh it. I'll show you the problem first. Okay, I have the epics are in active mode, and I will be going to change this. Okay, now mostly everything is in new, or else we'll stop here and we'll see from here again. Let's say mostly everything is new here now. Let's say this is my epic and this is my what. Yeah, let me take this epic, and this is the feature. Under that we have three user stories. This is the feature. We have three user stories under this. Let me get into this business logics to update the work items. And you see here in this we have two strings and register service hook, and here we have, yeah, this will be the perfect example. So this is one of the user story for which the status is still active, but as a team we started to work, and so we marked this status as closed. That means the child item, the user story is parent and the task is the child. You see here, right? For this is the user story, this is the current work item. For this there are two childs and there is one parent. Okay, forget about the parent. Now this work item status, what is the status? It is new. But once we start working on the child, by default, the user story also should become active, right? Because already we started working on this. Let's say this is new. Now I mark this as active. But if you look at your user story, that means the parent of these two tasks, one task is active and one task is closed. So that means we already started working on this. So the parent, the register service who gives the story should also become active, right? So sometimes we forget to change that. So when we look at the status at the parent level, we will get the confusion that okay, the story is still not yet started, only the tasks are started. So that is something irrelevant, right? So same like that, once you decide to close this task, let's say that you are closing the parent one, or maybe I will take this one so I can show you many examples. Let's say I closed one story is still active, and I we have already seen the demo and we have done with everything. I'm going to close this one. If I'm closing this, no one should start working on the any of the child item, and everything should go on the closed mode, right? Let's say this is the feature, and under this I have two child items. Only one is closed because I closed it manually, but the next one is still active. I can show you by refresh. The next one is still active. So that means it is it can be started, right? So that is also again irrelevant. If some child item is active, At the same time, if the parent is getting closed, the child item should be also getting gets closed automatically. So that should happen on its own. So we can handle this by using this kind of implementation. But yeah, this is intentionally kept open for by DevOps, because everything can be discussed. Let's say that I'm taking this user story. We have two tasks. Before I close this, we will connect and we will have some demo, and we discuss internally that whether I can close this task or user story, and then we can decide on that. That's why it's not been implemented on its own. But still, if the parent is getting closed, that means we already discussed on this specific thing. So the child can be closed automatically. There is no discussions needed on this specific sub task. So that thing we can automate. So with our implementation, what we are going to do is, once I close this, it will automatically close the child items as well. But in turn, it will not close the parent item. Let's say that I am going to let me take one more user story. Let me keep it as active now. And I have two tasks. One task is active, one is closed. Now I close this too. Now if I open this task is active. I mean, this story is active. My two child tasks are closed. This doesn't mean my story needs to be closed, because we need to connect on the story and we need to discuss whether only these two tasks are needed, or we need to add any more additional tasks on this, or is there any missing something. All those things we can discuss. That's why when child is closed, we should not close the parent. Only when the parent is closed, that we can close the child's, because parent itself closed. That means the task is completed. You don't need to keep open this task. So this kind of scenarios might applicable in some of the projects for the some of the teams. So for that, we can do some automations here. That's what we are going to discuss. So now we have seen what is service hooks and what is personal access token, what is the problem that we try to solve, and what is DevOps work items. Now let's create some Azure function code to do this. As I said, uh, I will be creating, I have already created some code. This is what our code looks like. So if you go to Visual Studio and if you try to create a new project, you can find Azure Functions. If you're using the latest Azure Function templates and the latest Visual Studio, you can find Azure Function as one of the project template type. You can just click on that and create a new project. By default, you can choose the HTTP trigger, and by default, you will get this HTTP trigger. This is a basic thing. Once you create this, I will be just running this. This will work like an API. You can use get or post. I'm just running this. I have two functions. One function app can have two functions. Okay, let me show you what is Azure Function. So Azure Function is a serverless thing. Serverless mean it is a piece of code which doesn't run on your system. You doesn't need any specific web app to run it. It's just a piece of code that runs in the online uh, as a serverless, and you can perform some action whichever you set. So in when you log into your Azure, you can find a resource called function app. Just go to the function app, try to create, and choose the subscription and the resource groups you see. You'll be see watching a lot more about the what is this Azure resources, all those stuffs in your Azure learning series that as a community we are planning. I'm just giving a short intro about this. So the function app, I just give your function name, whatever you prefer. It is a global name. It should be unique. Uh, J DevOps demo. So this function can run .NET Core or Node Code, Python, Java, all those stuffs, and you can decide what kind of version. Like if it is a .NET, you can decide which version you want to run, and you can decide the region and which, whether it's Windows or Linux, which what is the runtime stack that you want. You can choose. Then go to the next. Every function will need a storage account, so to host your things. So you can create a new, or you can use the existing one, just keeping and going. Public access, all those steps, and If you want to enable any monitoring application insights, you can use this. But I'm not going in depth on this because this is not a, you will be seeing a different learning systems about the same. And next, click on the deployment. Once you click on create all these stuffs, you will get this Azure function. Now, your function app can have many functions. That's why we call it as function app. And if you look at, once you open the function app, in the functions, if you go, you can see the create option. There are different triggers. The service hook is a trigger. As I said, when some action happen, it will do something. Same like that here in service function, you can create something. Yeah. So there are a lot of triggers that is available, like HTTP trigger, timer trigger, and due to I'm using the demo account, I have some restricted permissions. There are many triggers like service bus triggers and even triggers queue trigger, Azure queue trigger, storage account trigger. There are a lot of triggers available that you can try it out. The basic triggers are HTTP trigger, which works as an API, and the timer trigger. HTTP trigger, it's nothing but kind of an API which gets some input and responds to something. We are going to use this HTTP trigger only. I have already created that, and this is our automate DevOps HTTP trigger. This function is for sample. Okay. Now, my function is running. Once my function started, I will get the URL for my HTTP trigger. Let's say this is my URL function. I put here. We get the response. This is a basics response. Now, okay, Azure functions. Yeah. Now we have our function. Now what is our next step? Our next step is to create a function for our actual purpose. So let me show you our actual function. It's a custom code. I will try to upload it in GitHub and I'll share the link. So this is our another function, automate DevOps, where we do our custom actions. Okay. So as I said earlier, to as a bridge between our DevOps and this Azure function, we are going to use service hook. That means webhook. For that only we are going to use the function, and we need an authentication, right? So all your authentication, you don't need to maintain it in your code because it may expire and you may need to change it frequently. So we kept it in some configuration, that is local settings.json in Azure function. And you have mentioned your configuration settings here and your organization name for which you are going to do this automation. Now, so once, as I said, it will be an API call. You will get the data which item is getting updated. So our problem, what we are going to solve is whenever a status of some work item is getting changed, whenever a status of the work item is getting changed, we need to monitor that. Let's say if I change it to closed, I need to monitor this activity and I need to change all the child work items also as closed, right? Let's do that. So we need some information that needs to be passed from DevOps to this Azure function. That's what the service hook does. So once you open here, let me edit it so I can show you. Let's say that you have your code ready and you have your webhook ready and you have your personal access token. Everything is ready. You want to know what kind of data that will be posted, right? So for that, click on go to edit mode. Next, have test option. If you click test, it will post you sample request to your code. This is what your request will look like. I will open here also. This is what your request will look like. So you will get all the information. So what is the event that is getting updated, who updated the information, so what is the message, what is that specific task is all about, who updated this, Jayakumar updated this, and who is what is the information like revised date, what is the state, what is the previous value, whether it is an active or new mode, new values, new old previous value is active, and what is the reason, many information, and some of the fields like what is the parent, like if it is a task, whether it is a task or user story or any epic, you will get work item type, and if there is any parent available, you will get the parent as well. Every information you will get, you can get all this information and you can pass into your function Let's say I receive all this information in this line, and then I convert it into some model by using serialization. And you can say just created a simple model which is needed for me. I only use these codes, these variables, and then processing the work item data. Now we have two goals. Change the parent work item as active if any of the child work item value gets changed. If if the parent work item is still active but the child work item is changed, if the parent work item is still new but the child work item is changed the status and someone started working on, we need to automatically mark the parent also as active. That's what we are going to do here. And the next one is, when I mark the parent as closed, my child work items also should needs to be closed. That's going to be our second task. So that's why I have created two things. So I'm just opening the first one. So we are not, the code is not much complex. So as soon as we enter into here, we are just going to establish the connection between our function code and our DevOps. That's where we are going to use our personal access tokens. You get your access token here, and which organization that you created the token, and what is your token. This URL will be a common URL. dev.azure.com is common, and you can append the organization name for which you are going to perform this action. And you get this basic HTTP object which can help you to update the things. Once you get that, our query is simple. As I am repeating, we need to find the parent items that are active but still the child is, that are new but still the child is updated. Let's say that we, so that means whatever the item updated, I will show you the real-time example with this. Yeah, let I will change this back to new. Okay, now when I update my task, which is a child of this parent, which is a child of this parent user story, I will be getting a trigger. Once we get the trigger, maybe I will show you a real demo in local so that you get your debug it. I can debug my local. So I can use the NGRaw. There is a tool called NGRaw that you can use, and NGRaw you can just download. It will be helpful to debug your uh, local services. Since this local, I cannot. This is a hosted version, DevOps and everything. It's a hosted version. We cannot locally debug it in our local, but for this purpose, you can use this. Use the NGRaw downloaded version. Then once you get this, just point to the location of that NGRaw. I have it in my C drive. NGRaw HTTP, and what is the your URL? Your local host URL is 7043 is your port. 7043. I'll be getting one public URL. I can use this to test our code in local. I will go and, yeah, here is my service. Go here, change the connection. Okay. Now let's keep some debugger so that I can give you some sample and just put some debuggers. Let me finish it. Now let me enable this as well. Okay, it's already enabled, I guess. Even though I let me disable and enable it, I just enabled it. Now let's go and update our tasks. Yeah, here is my task. I'll take another task, and you see my one task is active. Still, my user story is not active. The parent is not active. So I'm going to activate my another task, which should automatically update our parent user story. Let's change this as active and let's save it. We have configured our service to monitor only the field state, right? So only the changes that we do on this state change, the service hook will be triggered. I'm changing it as active. Just change it. We'll be getting a trigger, and I have the debuggers placed. Yeah, we got the debugger. This is what it will look like. So our your request is here where you can find your complete information, and I have converted into some model, so I can use only the relevant information, work item type. I just want what is the field detail, whether what is the old status and who updated it, and I want only these what is my parent, what is my current work item ID, and what is the state it is changed as active, and it is a task. Okay, whether it is a task or user story or epic, I don't, we are not considering anything. The only thing is, we need to check what the parent item, any parent. Yeah. So we are what we are checking the parent ID. The tasks have one parent. From this JSON object we see now we get the parent. So we are checking the parent of the current item. Is it marked as new? If it is marked as new, then we need to change that as active, right? Because our child is changed. That means the parent should automatically go to active. So we are setting this as active and updating the parent work item. That's what we are using the parent ID. Now let me remove these debuggers and I'll show you disable or breakpoints. Without I refresh. So now still before I refresh, the child is active, but the parent is not active. Just going to refresh it. And you can find it automatically changed as active. The same in the vice versa. So that's what we have done here. The next is close child work items, and if our work item is closed and if there is any work item for which the parent is current work item and it is not closed, we will take all those things and then we'll mark the task closed. That's a simple logic that we have now. Okay, this is running in my local and I use NGRaw to check my code and to check whether it is working fine or not. But where I'm going to host this complete code and where I'm going to use this. So that's where Azure function comes into play. So we can, since we created an Azure function, just right click and we already created a function over here. And this is our function, but not this one. This is our function we already created, and you can publish your code to this Azure function. There are many ways to publish your code. I just use the publish profile option. You download this profile, go to publish, and you can click new, choose the profile. It will ask you to select the downloaded profile. The profile will have some settings related to your Azure function app, which you can select and click publish. It will get published. Now after publish, we need to do two things. We have two configuration settings, right? We need to create this configuration in our Azure function. Let me show you. In your Azure function, there's a setting called configuration where you can add your configurations. If you see, I have my DevOps token added and I have my organization also added here, right? My organization also added here. Once you add that, you are done. Your function is posted and it is live now. Okay, what is the URL? I get this NGRaw URL here, and I know my function URL is given here API slash automate DevOps, and instead of this localhost, we use this NGRaw, right? And you can see here, this is the complete URL. So this is the complete URL. Instead of the local host, we used NGRaw, and this will be our URL, absolute URL. So now we need our function app URL because we are going live now. So we don't need to debug, we don't need to run it from our local. How we are going to get the function URL? Go to the functions in the function app, open your respective app. Your code will be here. You can see the code plus test also. You can see your code, live code here as well, and you can do the things. But still, I use Visual Studio for the readability purpose. In your overview, you see your function URL. See the get function URL. This will be your URL. Just copy this. This will be a function URL. Go to your settings. Just paste the URL, whatever you copied. Click finish. Yeah. Now we are live. Our code is live, and we have updated our service scope to take this one. And let me disable this for now so that I can show you some status changes. Let me disable this. I disabled it. And one more thing to add on to all of these things. If you want to monitor what are the triggers have been raised and what are the things have been processed, you can check the history. How many are success, how many are failure, everything you can monitor here. On each request, what is the request data that is posted, what response you got back from your function, everything we can monitor here. Now, before I enable our service, now this is disabled. I'll just take any one work item for the testing purpose. Let me take the same thing. Now I will be changing everything as new. This user story is new. This task is new. This is second task. This is also new. I have now one user story and two tasks. Everything is new. Let me change this also. Yeah, this is my user story, and it will be kind of a hierarchical effect. What I mean by that is, so you have your function, yeah, register service hook. Under this, my task is active. I have two tasks. This is not activated. This is new, and this is my user story, which is a parent of these two tasks. This is also new. I'm going back to my feature. This is my feature. This is also new because the user story is new. And this is my epic. This is also new because for this epic, these are the child. This is new. And I'm going the parent of this one. It came here. This is also new because the child of it is marked as new. Now, one, so this is our epic is the top level. This is new. Feature is the next level. This is also new. User story is the next level. This is also new. This is also new, and the register service hook, this is also new, the child is also new. Now if I change any of this task as active, that should mark my user story as active because I started the task. The user story must be active. Then if it mark the user story as active, what does it mean? It should automatically mark the parent. That means the user story is parent, this one also as new, right? Then if the feature becomes active, it should mark the epic also as active because that's a parent for this one. So this kind of replications would happen. That's what we are trying to achieve now. Let me do that. Before that, I have to enable my webhook. Just not sure. Yeah. Let's enable it. Just enabled it. Uh, just sending some. Yeah, that's it. Now let me go and activate my task. Register Azure function as webhook. I will just activate this. Once I active, my story will become active. Then the parent of the story feature should become active. The parent of the feature epic should become active. It's all in the recursive manner. Just activated it. Let me refresh it, and you can see the tasks here. It will take some time to go and come back and mark it as active. You see, the story becomes active now. So the trigger will be triggered again because this status is updated now, right? Our trigger is pointing is based on the state change. When the task state change, it triggered and updated the webhook, may updated the user story. Now the users, our Azure function updated the status of this user story. So it will trigger another webhook which will call and update your feature. It is updated. Now, once this gets updated, it will trigger another webhook and it will call and we get updated your epic. You see this hierarchy and this recursive manner. This is how it works. Okay, now let's try to close this epic. If I close this epic, it should close all the tasks and all the features under that. Let's try. Just closing this. This is the top level. Just closed it. Whether it started or not started, everything will be getting closed. You see, the child's gets closed. Once this gets closed, the child's for this also will get closed. Children of this also gets closed. And once this gets closed, the children of the tasks also will get closed. It's still closing. It will take one by one. See, everything is closed. From both from the top to bottom or from the bottom to top, everything will be achieved. Yeah, now so that we are done with that demo and for this how to use the Azure functions to update your automate your DevOps. But again, this changing the status and all those things, it depends on your project requirement whether you want to do that or not, and it will vary based on every organization and every project how they structure their your work items and your dashboards. Thank you. That's it for today. Thanks for your patience for watching this long demo. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Azure community. Thank you, Lakshit, for giving this opportunity. Lakshit.
Yes, sir.
BN for this. मैं just
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir, for joining in. And hello,
ठीक है
am I audible?
आप कर रहे हो एक मिनट
No. Yes, sir. Thank you for joining in, sir, and thank you for sharing the incredible demo. There are some questions, so maybe this needs to be addressed in between, but I wasn't able to interrupt you in between. The first question is what options are there for error handling and exception management?
Okay, so error handling and exception management. Since it is a .NET code, right? You can use any coding stack. As I saw in the Azure function supports many things like Python, Java, PowerShell, .NET. You can use the whatever the error exceptions or error handlings that you want to follow in your code. Let's say in .NET we use try catch blocks and we capture all the errors and all the exceptions, and you can log it in your Azure itself. Like you can use application insights. You can log it over there, or you can so that you can monitor your exceptions over there. And also, as I showcased, that there's a history of your
अरे
service
इससे भी
request
कर सकते
where
हैं
you
इधर
can
टास्क में
monitor
कि अभी तो हम एक मेल कर देते हैं इधर है ना
your request and the responses. What is the error happened, and you can fix your codes as well.
Yes, sir. There is another question. Can you explain the access token concept?
Yeah. Okay. Let me explain once again. So as I said, there's one application that is DevOps. There's another system that is your Azure function. You want to connect, establish a bridge between these two things. For that, we are using service hook. That's a connector. Okay, connection is fine. how will you authenticate or how will you allow Azure function to update your DevOps. For that only we are using token. Token is nothing but instead of using a username and password, we are just going to use one token. Okay, so that token, as I showcase in the demo, you can define certain parameters and permissions. What are the permissions are allowed on this token, whether you can update a work item or update the source code or run the pipelines, anything you can define based on the purpose. You can create multiple tokens for different applications as well. So this is the actual purpose of the token. Instead of using a, let's say that I use my account here, my personal account. If I give my username and passwords in some source code in the application, that will be open. If tomorrow someone come and use, they will know my username and password, right? That's not secure. Same applicables for everything. That's why we use the tokens. It's a encoded stuff, so it doesn't have to deal anything with our personal account. It's just only for that purpose, for the permission that we grant.
Maybe this question is needs to be okay. Must it is not changing to new, it's on active only. So he might be asking that.
Yeah, so for that we have seen this demo once. We need maybe I will try to share this code in the GitHub so that you can try it in your own DevOps. Then it will change. It will not change on its own. To
Okay, sir.
automate
And
this, we have seen this demo.
okay, and the last question we have, getting interrupt error messages, how to resolve this?
Okay, interpret error messages. I'm not sure what context that it is in. I think it is from the front end. It's better to check your connectivity between whether you have enabled the HTTPS settings or not, because all these webhooks will work only on the HTTPS stuff, and ensure you have a secure domain, because we are connecting two different systems which is already hosted in the online. Maybe that should be the problem.
Yes, sir. So that's it about the questions part. These are all the questions that were there in the comment section. And thank you, sir, for joining in and sharing your incredible insights and the hands-on part. I really appreciate you shared it all over hands-on, because sharing with PPT doesn't make sense in those DevOps technical concepts, right? So it really
Yeah.
appreciate your efforts. So thank you, sir, for joining in. Thank you for time, and thank you everyone for joining in. And tomorrow, it's the day 6 of Azure DevOps Bootcamp, and we will discuss a lot more things about tomorrow. So thank you everyone. Let's see you tomorrow, guys. Thank you, sir. Thank
Thank
you. Have
you.
a good evening,
Bye.
sir.
Yeah.
Bye, sir.